Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Merry Christmas, everybody. This is Fanny. I hope you're having a great day. Beautiful end of the year celebration. So I am spending an hour, probably an hour, to catch up with you guys, make a special science video. Gratitude 2023 and manifestation for 2024. I have my Flower of Life Oracle, Lightworker Oracle, probably for the end of the video. Of course, these past few weeks I've been reading the Tablets of Emerald while I was studying for my science test, the Florida Teaching certification for educators or something like that, or exam. Anyways, everything I've been learning about science, you know, when you're reading the tablets and you feel like it's almost like someone watching you and writing this in the past, that's time bending. Yesterday I was explaining to Esteban. He was asking, how does Santa Claus get all the houses in one night all around the world? So I told him, well, it's because he's in another dimension. The time he's bending time on Christmas night, he's bending time, and he's like in another dimension where time is not the same. So for him, it'd be like he's distributing all the gifts at normal pace. But if we would see him do it, it would be like Sonic, because the time perception is different. So anyways, I was reading about the chemistry and the physics and stuff that you read about the molecules, and I could even feel like it was talking about society and the function of the people in the world. And I was just impressed how everything in the microcosm, at the microcosmic level, influences everything in the macrocosm. For example, nitrogen, which is the atmosphere is made of 78% nitrogen and 22%, 21% oxygen. So, but nitrogen cannot be digested by plants. Okay, so in order for that, you need to have nitrogen fixation that can be done by lightning, or by bean plants, or by worms and organisms that break out these molecules of nitrogen to transform it in nitrates that the plants can use then to create food. And when you have what was I saying that once you have I was thinking of a power plant. Once you have power plants that have all these pollutants like carbon or sulfuric acids or nitrogen, and you realize there is an algae actually that eats petroleum, and there is everywhere there is the plants taking CO2, but you see how every single piece of the universe is entangled to be self-sustainable. Like, so of course, imagine for oil spill, for example, the amount of algae and bacteria that you need to convert this for it to convert in the environment. So maybe if there is an oil spill somewhere, don't be surprised if like 3 years or 2 years, 5 years later, there is a giant population of algae all around the coast, because it's a homeostasis. The environment, even at the macro scale, is gonna convert the effects of the humans or the pollutions to counterbalance it. So that was really fascinating. So I want to share some of that with you today, taking some examples on how we can recycle what is actually fossil fuel and nuclear power. How does it work? Do some cards, and also, yes, spend this hour with you guys. I want to spend some time to thank everybody that's been here this year. Like, it's been 5 years that I've been waiting for the best year of my life. And yesterday was kind of like such a good day for Christmas Eve, eating sushis, and I got the water fixed and hot water. I could take a bath when I had this giant bathtub that's been staring at me for a year, and I never get to take a bath. Like little things, and I was feeling so grateful because what's going on in the world right now. There is wars, there's people who are sick and wounded and don't have shelter, and you're like, wow, I'm lucky we didn't get lots of presents for Christmas, but feeling really lucky for having this. And looking at the house and the beautiful papyrus. See today, so I'm watching the Eras tour from Taylor Swift right now. So I'm watching my little Era tour of the world. Here, fix it. Oh no. I have my Tumi, the Inca god of medicine from Peru. I got my dragon dress. For the Asia, I got my Egyptian scarf. So, my Egyptian papyrus, and the science, the astrology. I even got a little painting started for one of my students who asked me with her initials. Her name is Tony Montana. Just kidding, of course. You see, there is still something missing. The colors, I gotta fit it in to make it shine. But yeah, so for me to have 5 minutes to do a painting when I've been studying in the books, this exam, guys, not taking a while, but I have never studied that much for a test in my entire life. When I was in high school, it was like I wanted to be an archaeologist or an astronaut, but I also knew I wanted to travel the world, and I wanted to be able to speak with many people, that everywhere I go I could talk to people. I learned Spanish, English. I wanted to learn Arabic, Russians. I love calligraphy, and I'm really interested in Russian language, and Arabic is so beautiful. So anyways, you have to choose when you're in high school. You're going science or you're going languages, or literature, arts, So of course for me, I was like, it's difficult to choose because you pretty much, that's why I kept in the broadest area as long as possible, because I was interested in so many stuff. But for sure, I didn't want to cut off languages and culture and civilizations. And you see, why was I so interested in that? And when I see the wars around the world, why do I get so angry? Why stuff that is, of course, you can be blind to what's going on in the world, but if it affects you so much, it's because this is your job to fix it, and some others, we're also complementary, So this is why I'm so much into politics, and I believe that yes, we have an effect at the local scale, of course, where you work, where you buy, who you support, how you spread the message. Everything has an influence, but you also need to have this in the governments, in the laws. Because when you see some people, what they say, you're like, oh my God, like, can't have this. people with this mentality ruling the world. And when I think of my mentors, so these are going to be the first one that I'm thanking today, of course, life wouldn't be the same without Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi. Mostly these are two men that I wouldn't be the same person if I didn't met them, follow their trainings, because they make you believe that your best case scenario, your dream option, they are possible, and that you should not give up until you make it happen, and to trust all along the process. That process was so difficult. The divorce, the financial issues, while raising a child, building a house, looking for a job, all of that. I'm like, my ex-husband, I was like, what I really want to do this year? Like, realistically, like, I want to become the vice president of America, and Tony Robbins become the president. And, so we can work with Antonio Guterres at the United Nations, make alliances, try to be part of solving the conflicts, because you want to be a part of it if you care. And he's like, oh, you need to study political science. I was like, well, first off, I have with my degree in political science and international negotiations, but mostly what I need is to know life, like to know what people are going through, what the system is made of, where are the best opportunities that we have, and we have to share with others because people simply don't know about it. That's why communication is so important. But you also have to know where the gaps are, so you can address them. This is what they're already doing right now with the governments and with the social network nowadays. It goes so fast to change a society, to change a community. I see the network, but probably some of you watching, I know I follow very diligently pages like NASA, the Artemis mission that's coming, the science, the Resonance Science Foundation, that is now the International Space Foundation. Congratulations, I've been following them since the beginning, and you realize that all areas of life as becoming so conscious, but there is still, like, you don't know what you don't see. If you're surrounding, we always say, oh, you have to surround yourself with the best circle, the people you want to be like, but at the same time, you're surrounded in this world. What's going on? You see other parts of the world, you're like, this is another reality, and I've been kind of like lucky maybe to experience it in a way that I never reached to the point that I was lacking of shelter or money. Somehow I figured it out. But how the helps from the government, stuff like that. In France, I know exactly what to do. Here, I'm not used to the system, how to use the grants or unemployment money or helps for having like food stamps and stuff like that. That was very difficult. So the connection is so important. So anyways, yes, thanking my mentors and the communication also, why is it so important, especially being impressed by the world of Ben Labolt, the communication director and team of the White House, because they've been making politics so positive. The visuals are always so beautiful. I even said the untaggable, mysterious Ben Labolt, because you see I can't. He's doing everything in the name of the president, and imagine the trust of these teams who work together and connect. Even I see President Obama and the new administrations, how the connection, that's a beautiful way to do politics, and not the usual like fighting, criticizing, and not really bringing the positivity necessary to improve the system. Because when the president is meeting a president from Iran or Ukraine or NATO and the stuff like that, they have to represent peace. They also, we're asking them to solve everything. Yeah, this is how gotta be solved between leaders, I think, the conflict in Ukraine, instead of the battlefield, because there's just people being killed in the meanwhile. But at the same time, I think this cement, these deep partnerships and willing to support is already the first step, right? To make it solid and understand that we want the best for each other, and you can't always, there's different factors, there's different variables. So anyways, I'm not gonna talk about the war right now. Actually, I want to talk about science, and how it can relate to the cultures, the arts, the religion, and spirituality, and motherhood. Yeah, I talked about that. The nuclear. So let's talk about the the nuclear first. These are all my notes, and the tablets of emerald, because there's some passages, as always, that I read and that make me feel like this is my life, or other, I see other people's lives or other characters, but not so much in like the steps taken. I read the tablets of emerald, and you feel like it's a prophecy, like every passage of the life, every moment is written. And most of the time I open the book and either a random number that pops up in my mind or whatever page, and I read a couple of pages. And most of the time it's never random, like it's something that like, for example, it was written like the halls of Amenti. You're gonna what was it? And there is this light in the middle that's gonna reach like a challenge very quickly or whatever. But I don't know, the way it was formulated, I could see myself in the hallway of the school where I work and studying my exam, and like getting this exam, get done with it really quickly, you know. And it talks about like the laws, you know, the laws in the tablets of emerald. And just when I was studying the laws of thermodynamics, the law of motion from Newton, the law of momentum, and I was like, the laws of physics. And of course, if a lawyer would read that, they would probably be like, the laws, you know, the pillar laws that build our constitution or our society. But why do I think that's so cool? Because when I first read it, I don't like, you know, my mentors, they always say, don't tell people your plans, show them your results. And when I was studying during this exam, this is really what I did. I did not want to post too much about it on social media. I didn't want to make it sound like, oh, I'm gonna get it so quick, because you know, you don't want to be disappointed. And this is what most people, you cut your enthusiasm, your energy, because you're scared to be disappointed. So I was like, no, I'm not. In my head, I'm not gonna pass, I'm not gonna be enough. But sometimes not being enough, or the fear, is when you need to build your momentum. Because I wasn't feeling enough, because I had this imposter syndrome, because I never really studied science. Like I said, I had to choose. So I studied it for my own interest, but you don't study with the same depth if you have like an exam coming or whatever. So or a specific project that you have to accomplish, you know. There's other stuff you got to do. I'm like, I'm not going to learn all the laws of motion, mass times acceleration. But now when I read it, I was like, oh my God, we need some of these formulas to build a spaceship. You know, I still want to build a spaceship. So for real, like, I'm not joking. And this is also, you know, when I was trying to sell my workshops, and they were always saying, oh, you have to go higher for that. Like, you gotta go higher. I was like, okay, well, next step is the president of America or God, like next life, I don't know, because anyways, so that's also one of the reasons to build. I would literally forbid cars, like combustion-based cars, fuel, the construction of them. If you already have a gas car, okay, we're not gonna waste them, but no more construction of new vehicles with oil. And this is the last generation of oil. No more building these. Just build electric cars. They're already putting the infrastructures for it, so that's the first step, of course. And you know, I was talking about these politics that I appreciate how they're positive about the change, and you can see they have life of experience in governance and politics. The first time I think that I got interested really in Joe Biden, that was actually on a negative thing, is because for me I was like, I don't want to hear about politics. This is just a world of corrupts, or if they have a power, they don't really have the power because there's the big corporation that rule everything, you know, kind of this generation in disbelief with the governments. And I shared an article where they were saying they were building new nuclear missiles or whatever, and I was like, oh, so this is scandalous. I shared this on my Facebook and I tagged the president. And I was like, what a scandal, you know, that we need to stop this weapon building and stuff. And a few days later, or right after, they answered by posting something on their page that was kind of a message, an answer message. They were saying, you know, things take time. You can change things overnight. There are steps, kind of, you know, that's the message I understood for my perspective. And I was like, wow, first, they're open to dialogue. It's not a war, you know, against conspiracy theorists. You know, they were open to listening, and then followed all the actions, the next step, building new electric stations, tack. That went far, because in my neighborhood, I see the change. Like where I live, when we moved, there was nothing here. I knew it was going to be like the next place, and it's getting there. But you can see it building far. So, why rewind? So yeah. Okay, so what should I start with? Let's do some of these formulas. The Ohm's law, the Ohm resistance, the Ohm. So this exam was very difficult. I overstudied. Oh yeah, I was talking about that imposter syndrome, right? Because sometimes when you feel like you're not enough, then it's because you care so much, you want to be really good. So I studied, I overstudied, every single formula, every single law, I was researching it. What is it? What does that mean? Who found that? Everything. Like, I wanted to know about the guy, like, because I read that George Mendel is the father of genetics. He found this law of random transmission, or whatever the name is. What was it? The law of hold on. I'm gonna give you the knowledge. The law of where is it? The law of independent assortment. George Mendel, process by which each pair of chromosomes separates randomly, creating diverse gametes. So it pretty much means like the dominant and recessive genes, how they pass along from one person to another, from two parents to a child. So then I got to learn about genetic diseases like hemophilia, how, for example, right now hemophilia, they need injections is when the blood is not clotting. So for example, if you have a cut, it will not clot, so you will keep bleeding, or you can have hemorrhagia and stuff like that, hemorrhagy. But right now they have injections to compensate for that protein that they're missing in the body. Okay, this is where the medicine is at right now. But by studying genetics and the genome, very soon they'll be able to just target that gene and make the modification, recode that gene, either by, I don't know, it's gonna be like a USB now. That's probably how to connect the matrix, right? To recode the DNA or inject directly in it, I don't know. For it to, or replace the gene, I don't know. To fix that specific gene, so then the body can function normally. So this is where the research is at right now. Light therapy. Right now, same thing, you recur cancer through chemotherapy, stuff that are very violent for the body. And now there is radiation therapy, which is light therapy. Now they're using light for everything. Light to strengthen or lift the skin, light for hair growth. They use light to target cancer cells, to eliminate them and rebuild the area. Okay, so we're gonna literally, what was first spiritual, like bring the light, is actually literally manifesting. And there is a lot of things in the language that you see that the words talks about it. It says the word is what's gonna change everything. You have the power in the word, because it's the first step of manifestation. Idea, word, it's the first manifestation. First in your thoughts, then in the sound. In you bring that word out, you emit a sound that is a radio wave. You emit a radio wave in the universe every time that you speak. So light therapy, sound therapy, the sound, will be able to program the sound to levitate objects. Like the sound, if everything is an equation, mass, force equals mass time acceleration. This is the second law of motion, Newton. Weight, what is the equation between weight and sound? In order for, if there would be an equation, a relation between weight and sound frequency, what is the other variable that you multiply sound with to equals the weight of an object? Then, as an equation, if you intensify that number of that frequency, if it's proportional, like the law of like Coulomb's law, that says that the quantity of charge is inversely proportional to the square of the separation distance between two objects. Okay, makes sense? So by intensifying, you would be able to diminish the weight of the object. Makes so much sense. So by sound frequency, weight, what is the other variable that we are missing? The distance. The distance. sound, because of course the variable would be the distance. How far are you from that sound frequency for this mass to stand in place, and how do we turn off these frequencies up so the gravity is the other factor, the other variable. The distance, the gravity, wow. I just found the formula, guys. So the weight by the gravity equals the sound frequency times the distance. Boom. That's it. This is how they build the pyramids. So playing those vibrations, and you create levitation. And this is how we're going to create a spaceship completely eco-friendly with the force of lightning to spark the system. Okay, so now we know that liquid has a larger mass than solid. Okay, I thought it was the opposite following my observations, but apparently not. Because when you freeze something, you can see the ice like kind of inflates compared to the volume of the water. Huh? Did I notice that? Did you? Because I did. Apparently no. Apparently it's the opposite. Okay, liquids have a bigger volume, a mass than solids. So we would just do the opposite for the frequency in the spaceship. The heat, so the colder the circuit would generate more pressure, right, for the lifting when it lifts up. Okay, and then the pulsation against the gravity force to make that thing lift up. I see it. So anyways, acceleration equals, okay, I'm not gonna give you all of them because then other thing, the fundamental forces of the universe are gravitational force, electromagnetic force, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force. What is nuclear force? Nuclear is about fission of molecules. So you can see in a process like photosynthesis, for example, you have molecules of carbon dioxide mixed with molecules of water, okay, activated by light, and the plants and the chloroplast turns into literally the same molecules from that equation of, for example, here you see you have Horus and Isis. They're bringing her to the throne, and you see they're on one side, and boom, Isis, she's here, up, and she's on the other side too. Why? Because Egyptians, when they're painting hieroglyphs, it's not uncommon to see the same characters many times in the papyrus, because it's like a comic book, right? They're telling you the story. First she's there, and then she's going to the throne. But it's also like a mathematical equations, because a chemical component, actually. So you take the same characters, boom, you move them to the other side, and up, that equals up. These molecules convert to another story, and the carbon dioxide and the water molecules convert into glucose molecules and oxygen. By transpiration, they emit the oxygen out back in the atmospheres for us, we're complementary, and they keep the glucose to feed themselves. Okay, so this is a transformation, okay, a recomposition of the molecule. But the fission, nuclear fission, is when the molecule will break, the electrons break apart from the molecule, and every time there is a break, it releases, it absorbs energy. Okay? Nuclear fusion is when it comes together and it releases energy. Imagine like a relationship, okay? comes together, when electrons, molecules come together, it releases energy. Okay, just like love. And two entities create a third entity. It's not two share, it's you create and expand. So if bringing together releases energy, fission absorbs energy. So what is created, it's kind of like a vacuum effect, like a black hole. When you have nuclear fission, it's like, so by the process of making electricity out of fossil fuels, which fossil fuel is actually fossil fuel, oil made by fossils of plants, of organisms, of things that have been compressed over, there is always new layers of earth. It's like the oldest layer go at the bottom. It's the law of superposition. Okay, new layers. So what's really deep is older material. So these decompositions compress, and that makes the oil. This is what oil is. I didn't know that. I thought that oil was like a river, a layer of this oil substance created by the earth. Yeah, that is, but I didn't know what it was created from. Because remember, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be converted or transmitted. Okay? And this is valid for everything. Energy, even matter. Nothing is created from nothing. If you're creating a Christmas ball ornament, for example, while you're taking from another material to shape it and create something new with it, you transform materials. It's the same with nature. Everything comes from something. Like soil comes from rocks. With erosions over time and the tectonic plates and plates moving and weathering and all of these very elaborate scientific terms, it becomes land, soil, and everything transformed. And even mushrooms are decomposers, which means that the essential job of mushrooms is to decompose the remaining stuff and bring their nutrients back into the soil. Okay, worms, they're able to, so I'm still following my idea. I'm still talking about the nuclear fission. The nuclear fission, what it is, then it's like creation of a vacuum force, and this is where you have this mushroom effect of the cloud when you have a nuclear explosion, because it's actually it's like creating a black hole. All this energy is sucked in, and so by homeostasis, like reactive force, it creates that opposite explosion that pollutes and releases nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and sulfuric acids, and all this goes in the rain. Okay, condenses, because all this combustion, there's no combustion without H2O, so water vapor. Every combustion is water vapor that goes straight in the atmosphere, it gets stuck in the clouds, and that creates acid rain. Acid rain, that when we breathe it, it's toxic. Okay, so you have this fresh smell of water. No, actually it goes on the soil, on the floor, and with the fog, and you breathe it, and it creates lung diseases, and soil poisoning. So then when you grow your fruit and vegetables, so you see it goes into everything. Luckily, we have microorganisms that are literally exist just for this homeostasis. Remember, homeostasis is the principle, the survival principle of every organism that tends to want to balance, to bring an equilibrium. Okay, so like for example, when you're stressed, your body is going to release sugar out of your kidneys or your liver, whatever. It takes punctures, like this injects in your bloodstream this glucose, because it's trying to compensate for the stress, finding an equilibrium. So it's the same for nature. They have these little bacteria that eat the nitrogen and are able to release it into nitrates that are then beneficial nutrients for the plants. So everything, however, what does non-renewable mean? Renewable means something that is able to sustain itself, that there will be more production than consumption, right? If it's non-renewable, like oil, and is because we can't produce enough for the consumption. So right now maybe we have enough, but probably not in every part of the world, and we're projecting, we're not saying just for right now, we're projecting the next 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years that, you know, we're not going to wait until there's no more oil at all, because otherwise there's no more oil on, I mean, oil is always going to be formed, because obviously from every era there is this fossil, right, this stuff created. But if you drain constantly, it's like, imagine it like the nuclear fission, right? It creates these black holes, this vacuum that creates an opposite reaction. Third law of motion from Newton: for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So nuclear fission, so by draining these arteries of the earth, you're drying it out. So there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction. That could be an earthquake or droughts, because they're trying to hydrate the fill in those segments. Or so, wow, the interconnectedness of everything. Even you see how you can link all these topics to everything. Medicine, I believe, like a non-renewable, even though our cells are meant to renew themselves constantly, and this is why aging happens, because our cells don't do the mitosis, right, that this duplication of the cell fast enough for us to constantly have our skin replenished and the hair and everything. It slows down with the age, which is why you're starting having this drought and everything. But if you're constantly hydrated, that's why they say be hydrated, keep your pores, your hair, everything. So it's the same for the earth. You keep it hydrated, otherwise it's gonna deplete, be depleted. So the gravitational force is the weakest force on earth, in the universe. The weakest. Can you imagine? They're like, of course, gravitational force, you see, it's not hard to lift your foot up or pick up something. Yes, but at the same time, this is what's holding the whole solar system, the whole planet. Every planet has its gravity. So all these calculations of gravities everywhere are so perfect that there's no collisions between the planets, and everything's like adjoins together. So if the planets can do it, like, we can do it too, right? We should be able to deal with our little problems. Crazy. Okay, so the Era Tour. Woo! The Era Tour, guys. Electromagnetic force. So if gravity, this powerful force that is able to keep the whole universe together, is the weakest force, imagine the force that we have, the force of our thoughts, the power of the heart. For real, even our own magnetism, electromagnetism is electromagnetic force is another force of nature. So imagine like we're power plants. That's all the energy that we have. Yeah, so we talked about nuclear forces, we talked about molecules and chemical reactions. The law of momentum, remember that. W equals FD, work equals force times distance. So the power that you put in a work, the energy, the force you put in a work, to calculate that, you do the force times the distance. So I'm glad you know that. For a system, of course, know about voltage and current, and they had questions like stuff to trouble you, like, so you calculate power in, no, tell what question is true, what statement is true about power measurement or power quantity or something like this. And in the answers there was like you calculate power in voltage, then there were two other stuff, and then there were you calculate a resistance is calculated in ohms, which is true as well. So they make you hesitate. You're like, oh, there's two correct sentences. No, you have to reread the question. What is it that we want to know? Power quantity, okay, not the resistance. So things like this, but it was a good practice. You know, I haven't taken an exam. Last time I took a QCM exam like that was to apply to the FBI. I wanted to be a special agent at the FBI in 2022 or 2022, I think, or 21. I don't remember. It started. I'm giving you all my stories from the past few years because crazy. So I've been wanting to distribute a file to the FBI for a long time, and I called them. They wouldn't take I didn't want to speak on the phone. I wanted to go see someone, and it was during COVID, so they wouldn't let me in. And I was like throwing a scandal at the door at the police officer, like, you let me in, like I have some relevant information. Like, I want to talk to someone right now, and like yeah, but no, they didn't let me in without an appointment, and then I couldn't make an appointment, so the only way I could get in was to apply for a job there. So, which now you see, I did not think like that. I really wanted to work there. But now in the timeline of the story, in the storyline that I'm thinking back about it, I was like, because after my interview, so then I went to take this test online that was very crazy, very fast too, that I did a very good score to it, which got me to get an interview for a job at the FBI. And I had the idea during my job interview to actually bring the file too and give it. I was like, while I'm there, I'm going to talk to someone so I can give that file and talk about it, which is what I did. So after that, they did not hire me, but I did my mission. I delivered the knowledge. And then I was like, oh, maybe that was meant to be. That's why I had this idea, because I had to go in there and deliver the files. So anyways, yeah, I knew that one day that would be a funny anecdote, even though at the time I trained for this job. I worked out. Like, those who know Fanny would not recognize me. I was running every day. I was running I don't know how many miles, like in 15 minutes, like crazy sprinting for 15 minutes straight, like running miles. No, that was crazy. 13 miles, I don't remember, but oh, that was crazy. Like making push-ups and oh, whew. And then same thing for the scientist, like how much I studied for this. But I was happy to, that gave me a lot more understanding. For example, yeah, like I said, even reading about small molecules and how the equations work. And now you see, I even made the formula. I need to write it down for the spaceship levitation. So I love NASA. I love the work. I like how they really publicize the Artemis mission crew, the Artemis crew, because they're like President Biden was saying, these are the people that we will teach in our history books, you know, and making them go and represent everywhere and following along their preparation journey before they go to the moon and bring this new information, like Christina was saying. Very cool, very cool. And I can't wait till we start building those first spaceships. You know my theory, of course you know my theory. This is, oh my god, I almost forgot to say, this is my theory that the aliens, the little gray aliens that you see in the movies, on the TV, is that it's us from the future. Like when I'm sick, when I have, you know, I suffer since I'm in Jacksonville, I suffer from bronchitis, pneumonia, coughing really bad. And the other day I started the cough and I went straight on antibiotic. That was really bad. I was like almost dead at the doctor. I couldn't even breathe. I was bad. And I was feeling like my chest getting very compressed, being very dehydrated and dry. And this is like chemical rain poisoning. Like, I don't know what it is, but, or a bacteria, or, but then I was thinking, this is because we, at this pace of the pollution, we're non-renewable, which means that the environment is evolving the quality of the air, the percentage, because everything is so intricately perfect. What our lungs can tolerate and the composition of the atmosphere, this is why we are here like that. Because, however, once you're formed, if the weather composition, the air composition, the ratios change, and we get acid rains and everything, they change faster than a generation, means that our body is gonna get, at what level, of course we are resistant, but we're starting to see the effects on our body with constant coughing, recurring coughing and stuff, and that your body is not, immune system is not sustainable to deal with it on its own. Because never in my life have I taken medicine, ever. In France, I grew up, I would never take, yeah, sometimes I would take medicines, but in Peru, I never really took medicines. I was taking natural stuff. But if I had a cough or a flu, I would just like suffer in bed for a week and recover on my own. Now, since I'm here and I'm constantly sick, these are stuff that I cannot recover on my own without the medicine. I know when I have a bronchitis, if I wait, so of course when I'm home, last time this is what I did, I stayed home and I really slept for 3 days to let my body like recover. So if right away I can have this time to recover, then most of the time I can. But if I'm working, for example, and I have to speak during the day, or I try to just recover on my own without taking medicine, I will not. It will just get better, get worse. It will just get worse. And so I take these antibiotics right away. They worked well. I was like, you know what? It's gonna clean up everything, and I'm gonna take a bunch of new probiotics. I'm gonna reset my system. I don't know if it's the best way. Maybe celery diet would be better, but so anyways, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great now, and I'm grateful for the medicine, because we still live in an era where medicine saves lives, and we're lucky to have that level, because maybe, yes, we have pollution, we have sickness, cancer, diseases, and things like this, but our life expectancy is also a lot longer, 100, 120 years old, than it used to be in the 18th or 19th century, which the age was probably 50 or 60 years old. I don't know. So, of course, yes, there is the abuse of the medicine, and there is things that are bad for the environment. This is priority. But we are so grateful that we have the ability to medicate ourselves and find, remedies for things that sometimes you just need now, or because your lifestyle. I don't know if you're working. The last few days I was just going to work on Tylenol and ibuprofen because otherwise I couldn't get up. So anyways, guys, this was so cool. Sublimation. Do you know what sublimation is? Sublimation is the process of a gas becoming solid. No. Of a solid becoming gas. Instead of going through the stages, solid, liquid, and gas, condensation is when a solid like dry ice evaporates straight in the state of gas. But sublimation, that's beautiful. But I wrote it backwards. I said just when water vapor changes directly into a solid. So these guys, you want to see, this is all my notes. All my notes from my science object, all the phases of the mitosis, genetics, photosynthesis formula. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid, which is in the electron transport chain, it gives some ATP, adenosine triphosphate, brings the energy to create a certain type of protein. So all it is, the DNA is what converts information, right, from your gene code, translates it, transforms this information into matter, which is in the form of a protein. Okay, that has the codes for specific protein that has this level of acidity, this level of specific ratios, that programs for blue eyes or dark hair or tall or skin color or personality. So all the genetic code it's an acid, it's a protein. This is why when people take acid, don't do it. I've never done it. I imagine because it's acid, it acts, maybe awakens, taps into straight to the genetic information that's stored in your DNA. It was an acidic reaction, and this is why they're able to expand, maybe explore new functions and explore functions that they have in their DNA and their brains and stuff. So that made me really change my perception of what a protein is, all these vitamins, how they take the compositions, the protein. It's all like, I had a view that was more like biologic, like romantic, I don't know, version of things. I would see vegetables or plants create this nutrient for us, and this nutrient they send sugar, they send proteins that would be like this kind of vitamin, like this, right? But now I see it more as it's a fabric. It's like a power plant. It's a fabric, and they're just like a bunch of like oils and acids and tweaks, like, you're putting oil in the wheel so the wheel could turn, and like the protein, because it's a code, Like, I don't know, I see proteins differently now. For me, it's more of like a a fuel, like a gas, I don't know, like an acid. I don't really know. It looks a lot more chemical and like, yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. Whatever. I feel like now I can just like take the pills, the vitamins, the gummies, and that's it. You have the little things you need. But I'm French. I like to eat the good stuff, knowing that I'm being nourished by the food and it's like the best vitamins, the best taste. Like, French food is so good. Taxonomy. You know what taxonomy is? It's the kingdoms of animals, like the family, species, class, order, genus, kingdoms, phylum. That's what taxonomy is. Is how to classify animals. Alright, guys. Oh yeah, you wanted to see. Sorry, I'm going to show you. See? This is the pages. Earth composition, rocks and atmosphere, the tectonic plates, convergent, divergent, transform, types of rocks, the lower superposition. The younger rocks will be at the surface layer and the older rocks will be at the bottom layers. Accretion. What is accretion? It's a small pieces tying up eventually process that form the earth. Yep. Man, I learned so much. I even know the names of the clouds, like what types of clouds and what do they signal. It's like the Weather Channel. It was like literally like I felt like the tree in Pocahontas, the grandma tree in Pocahontas, and she's like reading the clouds, like, oh, there is a cumulonimbus coming. It means there is a storm coming. Big thick clouds that take up all the layers of the atmosphere. It's a bad sign. Okay, but maybe you have a cirrostratus cloud, you know, that's there. It's a sign of fair weather, so don't worry about it. But if you see a nimbostratus, rain is coming. You recognize them by, it's a lower gray cloud, condensed, and that's pretty much like a rain cloud, right? Very cool, very cool, very cool, guys. And of course, I'm going to talk to you about the stars. How the star formation. How is the star formed? Well, I'm going to do a reading for the Lightworker Oracle from Alana Fairchild. So all stars start as nebulas. First step is a nebula. What is a nebula? It's a cloud of dust and fragments and rocks and gases and all of that being magnetically attracted and forms by the chemical reaction of the electrons, the combustion of the hydrogen and helium. Okay, clouds, the sun, they all mix a blend of helium and what did I say the other one? Hydrogen and helium. Okay, that's all combustion. So then those rates, everything is rates. Those rates after the combustion of this nebula, depending on the rates, if all the hydrogen burns up, then it becomes a red giant. Every star will become a red giant. Okay? This is the second step when there's the combustion. So this is why you see them lighting up in the sky. And then depending on the heat, you see them red or blue. It can be a blue giant. Okay, I think this is when there's no more helium. Okay, blue means really hot. It's not like us. For us, red is hot and blue is cold, like ice. But in the space, it's the opposite. Blue means hot and red means cold. Um, of course, once all the helium and hydrogen is out, it explodes because the vacuum force, right? There's no more combustions, so there is this fission. I would imagine it's like a nuclear explosion, yeah, right? Well, I know the sun has nuclear energy coming out of it. Fusion. No. The sun is fusion, not fission. It's fusion. The sun is the only place where there's no fusion of elements on Earth. It's only in the sun because the nuclear force that's coming out of it is too dangerous. I think it's something like this. I'm not an expert. You would have to ask a NASA scientist, but I'm pretty close to what we should know. And then it becomes a supernova when it explodes. No more combustion. This is the end of the star. It explodes, and what we see from here is the explosion, but because it's light years away, we see them even if it lasts, I don't know, how long do you think that lasts for us? In time conversion, is it the same time frame? Does it explode in like a second? Does it take a month, a day? Is it like a real fire like us on Earth when we have a fire in the forest? Or is it like a nuclear explosion? I don't know. I don't know that. I should research that. Or is it in another time dimension? And even if it lasts a second for them, with the light that travels here, we can see it for many years and centuries. Have you thought about all this? It's crazy. Yeah, but that's nice to spend a day just asking yourself random questions. A nice day of quiet. Okay, so today we're gonna ask a question about 2024. We're gonna ask a message for 2024. A keyword, I don't know. Let's see. The heart transmission. The heart transmission. 37. I'm 37. That's crazy. I was born in 1986. The heart transmission. We hope you enjoyed this transmission on FM, FNFL, FM. The heart transmission. Let's read the booklet. After that, I am going to grab some popcorn and watch the Era Tour and dance like a Spice Girl. Your heart is capable not only of giving and receiving love, but of connecting you to a great network of beings that resonate in the highest frequencies of divine love. Exactly. Through your heart, you can receive information and guidance from networks of light that fill our universe. As you learn to open your heart to receiving these transmissions, your ability to work with group consciousness in a loving way increases. You shall affect humanity in a loving way, influencing the collective, rather than allowing the lower frequencies of the collective to overwhelm you. What a beautiful way to finish, because this is exactly what I started talking about. Knowing, experiencing the real world, like how is it to start, how is it to struggle, and these lower frequencies that are very scary and but that's like a scuba diving, right? You have to go through in French we said palier, so I don't know, steps for decompression. Okay, so I guess when you're takes so much to change perception, to go against the grain, like believe in your highest thinking, and keep going even when you don't want to. It takes so much. That is, wow, for one woman, it's and with child, it's difficult. I guess for everybody, Yeah. Working with group energy is a leap on the spiritual path with risk, but also great rewards in terms of empowerment to manifest your life mission. The risk with group energy is mitigated when you approach it from the heart rather than the head. The mind can argue one point of view and then immediately and convincingly argue its opposite. The heart, however, either feels something resonates or it doesn't. Whether or not there is a logical explanation for it, the mind can be seduced by those who tell you they have great spiritual power. But this will instantly. I'm listening to the music as well. You see Taylor on the back? She's awesome. She's awesome. Oh, I'm so glad I got to watch the concert from Amazon Prime. This is probably the most downloaded video on Amazon Prime today on December 25th. The Era Tour. So cool. I get to see it from my house. I don't even have to go out. I could be eating in my Egyptian scarf. The mind can be seduced by those who tell you they have great spiritual power, but this will instantly trigger intuitive warning bells in your heart for those with genuine power. Do not need to convince you of it. The heart is the key to deciding where you offer your devotion. When you offer devotion to the group consciousness that loves you unconditionally, your heart feels safe, loved, and inner knowing of the rightness of that group of you. This is exactly, I thought of this yesterday, and I was thinking, of course, of Dean and Tony Robbins, my mentors, and that I was like, really, when I started the masterminds, it was like, oh, I belong there. You know, when you feel like there's many groups, of course, there's many groups that I resonate with, and we belong to each other, and you know, sharing ideas and consciousness and family, the soul memories, and this. But as like everybody seeks for belonging on earth, you have your group of people, you know, there's other like you. Either religion is important for you, you're going to seek for people with other religions. This is why you go to church. Or if you're into the witchy or prophecies or natural healing, incense and natural eating and kind of like hippie, you're going to look for people like you, like eat the same, think the same, but you're not categorized to one group, of course, but you rarely, like for example, you will rarely go see hard rock or a metal music, even though I've been in a metal concert when I was in Peru, because I had a really cool friend and she liked to hear metal and stuff, metal music, but you know, not classified. But anyways, when I met the masterminds, I felt like, oh, I found my group. Like, I don't know, even though I don't agree with everything that they say, it's, you know, but it was like the energy, I don't know, the mindset, the persistence, the humor, the heart. It was like a more of a resonance, even though like many things, you know, sometimes you feel like, for me, I don't like when people say, oh, it's all in the mind. It's all mindset. Because if you decide to it, you're going to manifest it. So I know sometimes things you want to manifest in 1 or 2 years, you take it like a failure if it doesn't work. And maybe you're going to look 10 years later, you're like, wow, I accomplished everything that I set my mind to, even though I felt like a failure the whole time. Or I wasn't going fast enough, or not good enough, or, you know. But in the end, you're like, wow. That's why I try not to, I project, but at the same time, I'm trying to convince myself, like, I'm doing it. as much as, like, it's difficult, I'm still doing it. And, but sometimes, Just because you have something in mind doesn't mean you're going to manifest it, because you also manifest things either that you were meant to experience, or like, I don't know, I'm thinking of, for example, the time when my crypto, when I invested in crypto, I really thought I was gonna back myself up. Like, I was like, I found a way to double. I put some money in the crypto, not a lot. It doubled in a month, and I was like, I'm not gonna be rich doing nothing, but I'm gonna make a backup that if anything happens to me, or if it takes for me too long to make it, or my art is not anything, just have something to back me up, because I didn't have that. And that was my main cause of stress, was to not have a backup. And I did that. It worked. It doubled in 1 month. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get money for my credit card, put them a lot of money on there, so it's gonna double by next month. I'm taking all the money back, putting it back to the credit card, but at least I doubled and I have money there that's gonna keep working for me, and I'm not gonna touch it. But if I have a problem, I have that. So I did that, and I followed my intuition, man. I tried. It could have worked, and then that would have been a lot faster. But what I planned for me to go faster on the journey, I did that, and like the next month, the crypto crashed. Like, jinxed to the summit. Like, crypto crashed. I lost everything, and instead of, fast forwarding my success in career as an artist or whatever, I put myself even more down the depths. And then this is when I lost it. It was too stressful, anxiety and everything. But well, first I learned from that. I know, don't gamble. This is maybe to tell you this: don't gamble money you don't have. Okay, never do that. But then maybe that's why I had to. Then I was like, okay, I need a job. I need to work. I need to do a job. Get requalified or whatever, but I need to work now. And then this job happened. And then I read the Tablets of Emerald that they were saying, you will teach a day out of 10, or so, you will have to teach a day out of 10, and a day, like a year out of 10. Like for me, it's been years, but I was like, oh, I have to teach for a year out of 10, or I don't know. It was, okay, this was just, it was meant to be in a journey, So, I mean, spiritual communities, now you have to convince yourself every day that this was meant to be in your journey, okay? So then you don't feel bad about yourself. You're like, I was meant to experience this. It was all written by the divine forces of my own consciousness, because of course I am Jesus. I am the Christ consciousness. Okay, so no, for real. The heart is the key to deciding where you offer your devotion. When you offer devotion to the group consciousness that loves you unconditionally, your heart feels safe, loved, and an inner knowing of the rightness of that group for you, whether that group exists on the earthly plane or in a spiritual dimension. For as long, but in 2024, we're manifesting heaven on earth, okay? We're manifesting it. All the dreams that we have in our spirit are brought to life. Okay, we're all going to meet up, and it's already started. For as long as it gives you life, broadens your horizons, nourishes your truth, and empowers you to live your destiny, that group is serving you. If you do not experience this positive effect, if you feel drained, confused, or that your issues are not resolving as you work with this group, listen carefully to your heart and question whether it is indeed the right place for you to be. It is important to also work with this group that you can serve. Although you may love your family, for example, they might not be the group you can best serve. Perhaps those who are open, willingly, they're receptive to your spiritual gifts are outside your family. Perhaps your family can benefit spiritually from you in the role of a mother or son or daughter, but not in the role of spiritual mentor. On the other hand, some groups may want to feed off you, but not learn to do for themselves. They may wish for you to give them the answers to their problems. They may not be willing to develop the trust, courage, confidence, and empowerment that is required to take responsibility for their own relationship to the universe, which is needed so they can grow in soul wisdom through their life experiences. Your heart may guide you to withdraw your services from such people because you love them and want them to grow. Okay. I feel like we're listening to everybody's point of views. Very well said. I can recognize different mindsets in all these paragraphs. And yet, that are all true. All the different sides of the perfection. Your heart will guide you to operate differently with different people. You may be guided to explore hobbies or interests that lead you to the next group that your present can assist. Yes. Yeah, I know. I can see myself moving to the White House in November. I love the politics. I love what they did at the White House, all the Christmas trees and the alliances all around the world, the new spirit, like the NATO, how even though it takes time for the change, there is such progress already in the mindset. Then in some areas already it's starting to shift really quickly. Some others less quickly, because you get it. One thing cannot transition if all the other part of the mechanism isn't transitioning at the same time. But it's like everything. It's like your life. You feel like you're doing stuff that are disconnected from each other, which at the end you will realize every single one of these pieces of the mechanism turn on all together and start making the whole machine work. Same thing for society. They're like building electric stations, gas stations. NASA is more, there is Tesla, there is all these alternative like Virgin Galactic, all these alternative also airline. The fact that there is competition also means that there is technological advancement with different mindset and vision. So then they can share. Once you find the best technology, this is when you share it to make it happen at a larger scale. Because diversity is good, but isn't it annoying that you get a different types of phone charger for every type of phone, every type of computers? Like, why don't you make the one universal charger, and this is what everything is equipped, and then you can charge everything out of it? Like, all this stuff is just consumerism. You have to buy the Apple cable. You have to buy the Samsung S20 FE little thing that, so it's gonna be the same with ecology. Everything is starting to get into place until you get a new machine that's ready to roll. Like the International Space Foundation, they have a huge role. The Resonance Science Foundation, they played a huge role in making this knowledge legit also, and showing, you see, more than the knowledge itself. I think I know stuff, but I think what I like the most is when I make them connect, and how you see that one example at the microscopic scale, or the life of one person, or as a mechanism of a machine, or the gravitation of the planets, like all these different dimensions. It's like almost there is one code for everything, and it's all distributed out. This is why it's so difficult to change a mindset because it's literally encoded in everything within us and our matrix and the plants. And then if you start looking at it like a matrix, like numbers, it's like a DNA. If you look at the DNA, you have codes, right? You have sequences. So a DNA string, let's imagine, is going to be coded like ATGCTAA. Okay, ATGCTAA. ATGCTAA. And all of a sudden, during the mitosis, there is one that is out of place. Okay, so you're still gonna have, instead of having AC, ATCC, GAA, whatever, you're gonna have a ACG, AA, GAA, or whatever. One or two that's mixed up. So what happens? There is like the DNA police that comes and try to fix the mistake, to continue the sequence, like we've always done, like the sequence is. It's the same for society. It's like everything is programmed. If something is out of context, either they send the police, or they move it, or they try to fix it to make it back to normal. So that's a mechanism that's even written in how our own molecules function, DNA functions. And then if it doesn't go through, if you have a mutation, if it doesn't go through, then you have a mutation, and either the body is going to have a miscarriage because it's not going to accept something that is not matching what it's expecting, like the code, or if it still goes through, this is when you have differences, like certain types of sicknesses, or I don't know, someone who's born with an extra toe, or little mutations, or sicknesses, things like this. But yes, so this is why everything is encoded. This is why when you want to reprogram, think of it like AI. Everything is algorithm. Algorithm is program, everything is algorithm. So if you change something at this portion, at this segment, and someone else at the other segment recoded at all the segments, then it's going to start generating more of these sequences. Okay, it's like a fighting for dominance. Then, like proteins, I'm visualizing proteins. When you add a gene for, let's imagine blue eyes, in the fight of the genes for brown eyes, and then you have the dominant trait the protein is gonna try to take over the other one. They fight for a while, trying to duplicate until one takes over. And yeah, so I'm thinking of all the groups now, all the groups, and uniformizing our voice all around to reprogram the mindset, and mostly in terms of like religions, peace, ecology, all of that. It's not that we all have to think the same thing, but we all have to reach acceptance, like more in the value. We have to uniformize, like in terms of acceptance of each other, or like consciousness, bringing consciousness, like a critical thinking. For example, my mom had an argument with my aunt because they were watching about wind turbines online, and they were like, oh yeah, wind turbines, they're great, finally, some advancement for the ecology and stuff, and which is true. However, my mom and I, we think the same thing, that it's not one of the best options for renewable energies, because the waves from the wind turbines, they scare off animals in land and whales in the ocean, and they deviate their trajectory. This is why you get whales ending up in Normandy, and instead of going to the north and stuff, because they're creating signals. Remember that waves and birds and stuff, they travel by waves, they communicate by waves, so mostly the whales. So, and anyways, and started getting a fight because they were, my aunt was like, oh, you always need to be a contrary opinion. It's like, I'm not a contrary opinion, but I'm trying to have critical thinking. Just because what is the best, one thing that you learn about science, that one thing of the first thing they teach you, and even I had it in my test about science, is that science is not set. It's in complete constant evolution, subject to what is the best technology or scientific findings that we have at that moment, at that era. And of course it's gonna shift. Right now the best we have is solar panels. At this moment on history right now, solar panel is the best we can find. And I'm pretty sure, like Joe Biden said, there was going to be more technological advancement in 10 years, in the next 10, 13 years than there has been in the past 50 years. So maybe, like when you think of things like, for example, the purpose of lightning, even though it's a negative charge, a positive charge attracting to the negative charge of the earth, and this is creating like a electricity pathway, okay, linking the sky and the earth because the magnetism. But lightning also has for purpose nitrogen fixation. Every time there is a lightning, there is nitrogen from the atmosphere that is called fixated, that falls and becomes nitrates, which is a nutrient for flowers, remember? And photosynthesis, which, by the way, everything that is powered by sun, plants, by photosynthesis, is one of the best energy you can find, because it got 100% of energy from the sun. And then 10%, only 10% is passed down to the first consumer. So for example, if I eat a salad, I'm eating 100% energy straight from the sun. However, my body only takes 10% of it. And then, well, okay, nobody's gonna eat me, but if you had like a grasshopper, or let's say that eats grass, and then another animal like a fox eats the grasshopper, then the grasshopper only eats 10% of the grass, and then only 10% of that, so at that point 0.1% is transmitted to the fox. And then if another would be eating the fox, only 10% of that, so 10%, no, sorry, not 0.1, but 10%, sorry, out of 10, that goes to that fox. So anyways, only 10% is the law of 10%. Okay, so imagine being a carnivore, there's really nothing like in the meat, it's dead. And it's like the apex predators, the last one on the food chain, this got the least energy to transfer. Okay, then what? You may be guided to explore hobbies or interests that lead you to the next group that your presence can assist. The heart will also guide you when it is time to move on. The transmission of the heart gives a truthful assessment of the interaction of your frequency with the frequency of a group. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of it, but okay, this will be so helpful. The heart, I will read all of it, I will finish. The heart empowers you to know when to work with others, for how long and in what way. Trust it. The more you do, the more groups which can bring great benefit to you and to the planet can enter your world. That's why you have to keep believing, okay? Only you have your dreams. Nobody can understand your dreams, okay? Nobody, because it's your dreams. Maybe people from your group, from your family, or that you like-minded will have the same dreams, because you may be meant to bring it to life together. So here is the incantation. I have gratitude now for the heart transmission that guides me through universal love into the group consciousness that can best serve the greatest good in my own divine destiny. I ask for protection, insight, clear knowing, and clear feeling to guide me through the many groups that I will love and work with spiritually this lifetime. May all my group involvements be constructive. May love, light, and power increase in me and upon the earth through all groups work blazed by grace. May the unconditionally loving ones help all groups' endeavors attain spiritual success. Through my own free will and divine love, so be it. Yes, and this makes me think, of course, of the gathering they just did in Egypt with Edward Grants, when it's like all massively successful people who came together and then sending out this information and mentality to so many people. Why? Because if you're thinking different and you hear other people think like that, it encourages you to believe in what you're thinking and to keep going in that direction. While if you're isolated and you're just watching the news with the war and the terrible stuff, you feel so powerless because you it's too big and you're too small. And how can you have such an impact like on something so big in the world unless you're the president or in NATO, like but also avoiding that war start where you are and contributing this peaceful mentality is also for the next, you're working for the next generation, like how people are raised to think and to accept people. And it's all about accepting all these wars. But we need to have a serious conversation with the Russian president. The first thing I will do when we become president in 2024 is I'm gonna go meet Vlad. We need to talk because that's crazy. What are they doing? All right. I'm gonna pick one card now from the Flower of Life Oracle to wish everybody a beautiful Christmas. Thank you for being here in 2023. That was crazy. I don't know if it was a good year for me or not. It was because I was, the first beginning of the year was horrible. The most lost and difficult and stressful anxiety time of my life, and lonely and everything. The end of 2023, building back my confidence, my finances. I found a job. I'm so grateful for my boss and my team who gave me this job. I said, when I got the job, I said, okay, now I have 1 year. 1 year, I'm gonna work my butt off. I'm just gonna be working. I'm gonna be fixing my life. 1 year, I'm fixing my life. I'm bringing my life back together. I'm just gonna be work. I'm gonna do the exams I want to do, and I did that. I did it. I did my exam. I paid back a lot of the stuff I was delayed on paying. I'm starting January ready. Ready. So excited. This is gonna be a better year. I know it. 2024 is gonna be a great year. Not easy, but I think there's gonna be two halves. There's the first half of the year. I need to finish the school year. I try to do my best. I don't usually start something to quit. I like to be successful. So even if it's difficult, I want to get the students science, give them the scientific mind, and that's our sign. That is our sign to stop. It's been 1 hour and 40 minutes. Thank you for spending this time together, listening to some science. Thank you for the superstars. Also, I follow The Rock, I follow Ellen, Kim Kardashian, J-Lo, I don't know, superstar who share their lives and their inspirational lives and arts and kindness. So that was a big motivation for me also this year. Um, yeah, awesome people. You see the good hearts can win and make a difference also around everywhere they go. That's crazy. But success, you don't get successful by chance. Usually you have the personality and the gift that come for it. So here's a sign, literally a sign. Sit quietly and close your eyes. Ask your higher self to show you a sign that represents your highest development for this life. Whatever comes will be the most perfect sign to breathe life into your highest will at this time. Your sign may be a color, a feeling or inkling, a memory, a guide or angel, something abstract or a symbol. Imagine your sign is gently floating in front of you. Light, energy, and wisdom shine from your sign and saturate every part of you. All is transformed, giving you full access to your higher will and courage. Be inspired by this newly found part of you. Allow it to reveal your highest development, your highest path, what makes you happiest. Open your eyes and continue to flow through your day. Okay. Merry Christmas. Have a beautiful year. 2024. Let's do this together. Let's build a beautiful world. Let's stay positive. Encourage each other. And remember, I think the most important thing from all this video is that fusion creates energy. Okay? Partnership will always create more energy than division.